Hi everyone. In today's lesson, we are going to learn how to solve for data in trigonometry using the unit circle in a very simple and easy way. So let's start. Hi, this is our unit circle. We go anti-clockwise from 0 to 90, then 180, 270 and 360. Between 0 to 90 is the first quadrant, 90 to 180, second quadrant. Between 180 to 270 is the third quadrant, and 360 to 270 is the fourth quadrant. In the first quadrant, between 0 to 90, all your trig identities, sine, cosine, and tan, they are all positive. What does that mean? If I have any angle between 0 to 90, let's say 45, sine 45, cos 45, or tan 45. If I put in the calculator, my answer is going to be positive. In the second quadrant, only sine is positive. That means that tan and cos is negative. If I take a value between 180 and 90, sine 120, I will get a positive answer in the calculator. Cos 120 and tan 120 is going to give us a negative answer. In the third quadrant, only tan is positive, meaning cos and sine are going to be negative here between 180 to 270. Let's take a value between 180 and 270, 240. Tan 240 is going to be positive, and cos 240 and sine 240, when put in the calculator, will give us a negative answer. In the last quadrant, cos is positive. And I'm sure you have understood now that if cos is positive here, sine and tan are going to be negative. You can try putting in the calculator cos 300, which will give you a positive answer. Tan and sine 300 will give you a negative answer. There's an easier way to memorize it. In the first quadrant, we write A, all. So all trig identities are positive. In the second, only sine is positive. Third, tan, and fourth, cos. There are different ways you can memorize. You can say all students take chemistry, or you can make your own anagram and learn it. Hi, now we learn to find the angles. In the first quadrant, when you take sine inverse, cos inverse, or tan inverse, you get the answer between 0 and 90, which is your theta. In the second quadrant, the angles are between 180 and 90. For the unit circle, we do not use 90 and 270. 180 and 360 are the important angles. So in the second quadrant, your angle is going to be less than 180. Therefore, it is 180 minus theta because it is less than 180. In the third quadrant, you have the angle between 180 and 270. So any number in the third quadrant is going to be more than 180. So the angle we get in the third quadrant is 180 plus theta. In the fourth quadrant, the angle is between 360 and 270. Remember, I said we only use 360. So the angle here is going to be less than 360. So it is 360 minus theta. If the question is in radians, then the only thing you need to do is change your calculator into radian mode, and you should know that 180 is pi and 360 is 2 pi. So in these equations, we replace the 180 with pi and 360 with 2 pi. Write this down or take a screenshot of it, and then we move further. Hi, now let's talk about limits. If the limits are between 0 and 360, we simply use the unit circle to find the two required angles. If the limit is negative, it could be any number, negative 180, negative 360. What we do is the two values that we got, suppose you got x0 and x1. From each one, you will subtract 360 to get the next two values. And if your limits was more than 360, what we do is the values that we got, we add 360 to find our next two values. To fully understand each trigonometric identity, we will solve two equations, one with a positive value and one with a negative value. So you can clearly see how both cases work. In the first equation, write x is equal to sine inverse half. This will give you 30. After that, always make a small unit circle on the side. And you need to remember where sine is positive. It is positive in the first quadrant, which is theta. In the second quadrant, which it is 180 minus theta. So knowledge of ASTC is very important. I will write my value x is equal to 30, and the next value is going to be 180 minus 30, which is 150. I have negative limits, so I write down the two values that I got, and from that I'm going to subtract 360. This will give me negative 330, and this will give me negative 210. So these are my answers. All the four values are my answers. In the second example, our limits are from negative 180 till 720, and the value of sine x is negative. When we write inverse sine, do not put the negative in the calculator. Write negative sine inverse half. This will give you negative 30. The negative that we have is only used to identify and let us know that we are supposed to use the quadrants where sine is negative. So where is sine negative? It's negative in the third and the fourth. And from the unit circle diagram, you should know that in the third quadrant, we use the equation 180 plus theta, and in the fourth, 360 minus theta. Theta can never be negative. So theta is always going to be positive. The negative, like I told you, is only to let us know we have to look for quadrants where sine is negative. Replace your theta with 30. And this will give us x is equal to 210 and 330. I have more than 720. The rule that I told you is whatever two values that you get, the initial value, you add 360 to it. This will give me 570, and this will give me 690. So these are my two other values. 570 is 690. I also have less than negative 180, less than 0 till negative 180. Again, the two values that we have, 210 and 330, I'm going to subtract 360. So no matter what your values are there, we add 360 or subtract 360. This will give me negative 150, and here when I subtract negative 360, I got negative 30. Write down the answers. In this case, we got 6 answers. I hope this is clear to you. Hi, we will continue with cosine 10 in the second part. Do watch it.